Ah yes, Ainz is back at it again with being able to lie his way through any situation. It's honestly one of the best parts about Overlord in my opinion. It's one of the reasons why I really fell in love with this series, not just because it has a Lich King type vibe going on throughout the series, but just seeing how Ainz is a character, he always has this like aura about him to where he seems like he knows everything, he's this unstoppable Overlord, but then when we get into his inner psyche, he acts like just a regular, salary man, and he just like, oh, thank God, like, I got through that, just fine. I'm just like, oh my God, this is just, that's inspiration, honestly, because, I mean, you gotta imagine, in real life, people have to do this sometimes. People actually legit have to kind of lie their way or fake it till they make it in a lot of situations, and just seeing how Ainz has been continuously doing this throughout the series, it's hilarious, and it's one of my favorite moments, and it's definitely, a highlight of this episode, and I think many can agree with me. But since I'm on the topic of that beginning segment with Ainz, fake it till you make it, I want to talk about what that scene represented, but also kind of how it was a little bit different in the anime compared to the light novel equivalent. Now, in the light novel, that entire scene with Beta, talking to Ainz, and Ainz, is like, you fool and all that, you failed, you should report any information that you have and all that. The scene in the light novel was very, I guess, serious. It had a lot of tension, and Beta was, freaking out, like, oh crap, everybody was nervous, shocked, they didn't know what to do, and, just as a quick clarification, remember, Ainz, he's one of the Supreme Beings, one of the 40 Supreme Beings, and, all of them, all the NPCs, they look up to the Supreme Beings or Ainz as like a god, someone that, is untouchable, someone that is perfect, and so, like, if your god came up to you and is like, you fool, you failed me and all that, you should tell me, that's going to depress you, it's going to make you very upset or scared, and since Ainz is one of the last remaining, Supreme Beings that's a part of Nazarick, obviously, his words hurt a lot for Beta and everyone else in the room. And so, in the light novel, it was very serious, and Beta was freaking out, everybody was freaking out in the room, sweating and all that, and it just had a lot of tension to it. But when you watch it in the anime, yes, it was a little bit serious, you could see that some of them were reacting like a little bit like, whoa, and all that, but it wasn't as, like, serious as how it was in the light novel. Now, I'm not saying that this, completely ruins the episode or ruins Overlord, but it's a kind of an iconic scene, especially just to show a little bit more about Beta's character, or how the NPCs would react if Ainz was really angry at them for them felling him in any possible way. And normally, Ainz is able to overlook stuff. We've seen this time and time again with Ainz throughout Overlord Season 1, Season 2, and now Season 3, that he has no problem with, the NPCs felling. It happens. It's something that is bound to happen. He wants them to fail, to learn from their mistakes. And in a way, he's probably happy that Beta did fail. But at the same time, what she did was something that would get a lot of people in trouble no matter what in everyday life. For instance, Beta was in charge of giving information on the village that she's been watching over. Anything that happens, any information, she needs to report back to Ainz instantly. It needs to be reported to him any given moment, and no matter what it is. And Beta kind of didn't do that. She didn't really relay much information. She didn't really care to report into Ainz whatsoever because, she felt like it didn't concern him or wouldn't concern him at all. And in turn, that was a bad choice. Even if Ainz, since we know how strong he is, we know this man is OP, and we saw the outcome in this episode, him demolishing the troll and then the Naga that got wrecked as well, we know that they stood no chance. And Beta was correct about her, analysis, like, it didn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. It's still very risky. As someone that's like part of an organization, you need to relay any information possible. If it would have been Demi would have went out of his way, and he would have definitely reported to Ainz. Albedo would have reported to Ainz about any information, but like I said, Beta failed. So Ainz, the reason why he was upset is because she failed to do one basic thing that would be a part of an organization. Inform the higher-ups if something goes down, no matter what it's about. Now, another thing, too, we also got to look at about that scene is that even though Ainz was upset, he's probably happy because she failed, and she will learn from that mistake. That's what he's been testing. Remember, the whole thing we saw with, Cocytus in Season 2, he was testing him, trying to allow him to see if he can learn and adapt to situations without Ainz's help. And then, we saw, Sebastian, and how he also had to adapt and learn how to handle certain things without Ainz or anyone else. So, I mean, this has constantly been a reoccurring theme throughout Overlord, and once again, that's kind of what's going on with Beta in this episode. Now, it's kind of been very obvious how important the village is because of the potion. I mean, Ainz has personally wanted to find out how to make more potions and all that, and then sell his own product, make money for Nazarick. This has been a big thing that's been going on since Season 1. It's been established for a very long time now. And in this episode, he's like, look, Beta, I want you to know that the village is very important to me, or at the very least, the individuals that is within the village are very important to me, because they're creating potions for me, but also we have a leader that, can lead the village and keep them, on a tight rein, for they could follow lines if he ever needs them to do something. And he's like, I need to make sure they're safe, that they're a good investment. I don't want this investment to go to waste. And also on top of that, he also explains to Beta, like, look, I could easily grab the potion maker, the dude, the boy, and imprison him in Nazarick and make him make as many potions as I want. He's like, that I could easily do that. He definitely has that type of skill. But at the same time, it's better if I allow him to make potions for me out of loyalty. I want the man to be able to make it thinking he's doing a good job, and also want him attached to Enri that also is someone that he loves. So he's using Enri against the boy, but also he wants to keep them loyal to where they're not, oppressed. They don't feel like they're, serving Ainz in fear. He's, doing a test. He's not wanting to use fear at all to lead that village. And that's kind of what was being discussed in the last episode with Demi and all that, talking about the village, and how the village was very different, and how, Ainz was kind of, taking a test or an experiment with the village to see if it could be ruled without using force or fear to bring it under his wing. Now, anyways, let's also talk about the segment with Ainz and how we can clearly see the man is getting a little bit more darker. He's, not honestly a good person. Now, this has been established for a while. Ainz, he's always been more on the chaotic side, or, evil side. Deep down, we know he's not a bad dude. Like, he's not a legit, evil man that just takes pleasure out of hurting people or whatever. But at the same time, he is not someone that is a good individual that, won't think twice to hurt others to save the people of Nazarick, his NPCs, his children. He would definitely do anything he wants just to be able to protect them. And we could see that clearly in this episode when he's talking. He's like, honestly, the only people I care about in this world is people that are worthy of my respect, or, the citizens of Nazarick. If it's not those two, then I don't care what happens to anyone else, which shows a little bit of a darker side to Ainz, that he has no care for any regular civilians in the world whatsoever. He has no care at all. Which, that is pretty concerning, showing that, his side, like his skeleton side, it makes you wonder, is it slowly consuming his mind? Is he slowly becoming more and more detached away from his once human self, and becoming more of like an undead that doesn't really care about anything? It really does make you wonder. Now, another thing, too, to talk about is also the fact that with Ainz, his combat he showed in this episode, and what he did to the troll, to the Naga as well. And that scene really just shows the brutality of Ainz, a different side to him that we don't normally get to see quite often. See, Ainz, he's always been this dude that, he seems kind of good, even though he does have a evil side to him. But what he straight up did to the troll, it was kind of messed up. I mean, he straight up mocked the man, put the man down. I mean, he tried to negotiate in a way, but at the same time, though, the way he went about it was like, holy crap. You could have restrained yourself a little bit instead of going all in against these weaklings, and he just destroyed the trolls like it was nothing, and, he terrorized them. I mean, he just straight up beat them with, like, his mace like it was nothing, and they just fell over. And, I mean, he was even talking about using the body of the troll just to be able to experiment with skeleton trolls or something. He was even wanting to experiment with that. So, I mean, this man's always doing experiments. He doesn't really care about the body situation or anything. He's always wanting to learn new information. And then we also have the situation with the Naga as well, how the Naga just pledged his loyalty to Ainz out of straight-up fear, which is the exact opposite of what was going on with the village that, Beta is currently in charge of. You see, that village, Ainz is, watching over it without fear or oppression. While what we see going on with the Naga or the demi-humans within this episode, Ainz was going in and was like, I'm your ruler now, I'm your master, if you don't bow down before me, you're done. And that's pretty much what happened. So, Ainz showing two sides of himself throughout these recent episodes on how far he will go to spread his name, but also to protect Nazarick and further his ideals. I guess let's also talk about Aura for a second, and kind of that situation on the horse. So, Aura, she got very embarrassed and blushed when Ainz was just, head patting her and all of that. and Ainz didn't really mean anything bad about it. This is something that has been constantly popping up time and time again throughout Season 1 and Season 2 and now Season 3, but I want to clarify for you anime-onlys for that scene why Ainz was, just putting his a hand on, Aura's head, or, just like, oh man, she's really tiny. The reason why he did that was because he's like a father figure. He views himself like a father to all of the NPCs, and so he doesn't want them to come to any harm. He wants to raise them and make sure that they're happy and safe. And so when he's looking at Aura, he's looking at, a child. He's just making sure that Aura is happy. And so when he's, looking her over, he's like, maybe I should send her to a dark elf school or something to be able to be with people her own age or whatever. It's just like Ainz being like a papa. And it's a very cute moment just seeing how he was viewing all of them like that. It's been something that's reoccurred constantly, but some might misinterpret that scene and think Ainz was being a little bit creepy or weird, but in reality he wasn't. He was just, he didn't really judge the situation, especially with how the NPCs feel, because remember, the NPCs, they look up to Ainz like, a god. They love him a lot, and, they are completely in love with him. Like, look at Albedo and Shaltir, perfect example. So, yeah, he doesn't look at him like that in a romantic way. He wants to make sure they're safe, happy, and he just wants to make sure his children is okay. But that's pretty much about it when it comes to this week's episode of Overlord. So let me know your thoughts. How do you feel about this episode? Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? Be honest in the comments below. I'm kind of curious to see how you guys felt about this. How do you feel about the beta situation? How do you feel about what was going on with Ainz and how savage he was? How do you feel about the test with the village? Be honest in the comments below. I'm very curious to see how you guys feel. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below, because for some reason, even if you click, the subscribe button, you don't always get notified. So if you do want to get notified for when I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, please be safe. Chibi out.